I'm currently working for a small family-run wholesaling business. It's a good job for the most part, and I work alone in the office getting orders ready, which is always nice since I can just play my music and get my work done at my own pace. Fairly recently, my boss decided to install several security cameras since he was planning on bringing on extra employees. And he's a bit worried about theft when it comes to that. This didn't really bother me at all, though, since he was letting me set everything up and even monitor the footage. Everything was going fine for the first couple of days until this morning. While I was working, I would hear strange scratching noises, like an animal running across the carpet. I didn't really pay it any attention because I have a small rodent problem at my house anyways, and the noise reminded me of a mouse or a rat. I decided I'd just bring some traps from home the next day and try to get rid of it. My day dragged on with little occurrence until I began closing up. When I began closing, doing my routine of going from room to room, turning off all the lights and closing all the doors, I heard a couple of loud popping noises behind me. I wasn't sure what this could have been, but I simply attributed it to a bulb going out as I turned the lights off. I then headed to the bathroom before locking up and leaving for the night. When I got home from work, I remembered I hadn't tried out the software I set up on my laptop, which would allow me to view the footage from the cameras, and I thought I might be able to catch a glimpse of the mouse or whatever it was in the office. I got my laptop ready and went to sit down, but before I could, I heard that damn skittering noise coming from my living room. I walked into the living room trying to find the source and made a mental note of setting up more mouse traps sooner than intended. I sighed and went back into the kitchen. I sat down at the table with my laptop, ready to watch the day's footage. The first few hours weren't really too exciting, although it's strange watching yourself go about your day when you're alone. I fast-forwarded the video and finally caught a glimpse of something about 3 hours into my day. When I watched the footage, I noticed that in one of the back rooms, a large object appeared to skitter past the doorway. I kept trying to rewatch it, but I couldn't be sure. It looked much bigger than a mouse, but I just continued the footage, and then I saw it. A face. It was staring out of the room. The face was low to the ground, really low, just barely visible from the bottom right corner of the doorway. I could barely move as I watched. Whoever it was had to be crawling on all fours to be that low to the ground. It was hard to make out any features, but I could see a large grin stretching from ear to ear as it watched me from the room. I never even saw it while I was working. I even walked into that room to grab product. It seemed to stay still until I began closing up for the day. When I went into the room and turned off the light, it began to follow me. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even pause the video because I just couldn't handle staring at that thing much longer. Its limbs jutted out at unnatural angles. It began to move forward in a weird jerking fashion. It stood up and its limbs started snapping back into place. I watched in horror as I realized that this creature was the source of the popping noise I had heard. The thing appeared to be a small woman wearing a filthy, tattered dress. Her hands were abnormally long and ended in small, slender fingers tipped with sharp claws. Her face was sunken in. The eyes were just two empty sockets caked with dried blood. But the worst part was the mouth. It was way too large to have ever been human. When she grinned, I could see hundreds of tiny needle-shaped teeth. I couldn't stop staring at that awful grin. I watched myself walk into the bathroom and close the door. As I closed it, the thing approached. It shot from the room to the bathroom door so fast the camera was barely able to keep up. It stood in front of the door and just stared, waiting for me to come out. It stood there for a couple minutes before slowly turning toward the camera, and within a blink of an eye, its entire face took up the whole screen. I screamed and slammed my laptop shut. When I finally got the courage to open it back up, the screen was completely black. My laptop had gone into sleep mode, and all I could see was my reflection in the computer screen. As I started to breathe a sigh of relief, my breath was caught in my throat as I heard the skittering noise come to a stop behind my chair. I sat, frozen in horror, watching through the reflection of the computer. as the popping noises began and another face became visible over my shoulder, grinning from ear to ear.